The phone rang at 2:17 a.m. Melissa Allen had always feared middle-of-the-night calls, those harbingers of news too terrible to wait for daylight. Her trembling hand reached for the receiver on the third ring, heart already racing with that primal dread that comes before you even know why. "Mrs. Allen, this is Mercy Hospital. Your son, Tyler Allen, has been admitted with a suspected brain aneurysm. You need to come immediately." The world tilted. At 65, Melissa had buried her husband a decade earlier. She'd survived breast cancer at 50. She'd weathered 1,000 storms. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. Tyler couldn't be dying. He was only 35, healthy, careful. He was supposed to bury her, not the other way around. She arrived at the hospital still wearing her nightgown beneath her coat, hair uncombed, hands shaking as she gave her name at the reception desk. A grim-faced doctor led her to a private consultation room, never a good sign, and the words that followed shattered what remained of her carefully ordered world. "Massive cerebral aneurysm. No warning signs. Nothing could have been done. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Allen. He's gone." Gone. The word hung in the sterile air like a death sentence of its own. Hours blurred together. Paperwork. Decisions no mother should make. Phone calls she couldn't remember making. It was nearly noon when Jade finally arrived. Tyler's wife of 10 years, her designer sunglasses hiding her eyes despite the gray December sky. Expensively manicured nails tapping impatiently against her phone case. "There was traffic," Jade offered without meeting Melissa's gaze. "And I had to find someone to watch Ryan." Melissa had already called Ryan's school, already spoken with his teacher, already arranged for their 8-year-old grandson to spend the day with his best friend's family, sparing him the hospital's cold machinery of death. The fact that Jade hadn't thought to do this, that she'd left her son without information about his father's condition, settled like lead in Melissa's stomach. "Tyler is gone," Melissa said simply, watching for the reaction that would tell her everything. Jade's perfectly painted mouth formed a small O of surprise. Her hand fluttered to her throat in a gesture that might have seemed natural if Melissa hadn't spent 30 years as a psychology professor, trained to read the subtle tells of human behavior. "But he was fine yesterday," Jade said, her voice catching on cue. "We had dinner and then he was working in his study. I went to bed early. I didn't even say goodnight." For a moment, something flickered across Jade's face. Regret? Relief? Before her expression smoothed into appropriate shock. And in that brief instant, Melissa's professional instincts whispered a warning she couldn't yet name. Something wasn't right. Scene 2. The funeral performance. Melissa had attended enough funerals to recognize genuine grief. It manifested differently in everyone. Some collapsed inward, some raged against the universe, some grew eerily calm. But there was an authenticity that couldn't be fabricated, a rawness that couldn't be rehearsed. As she sat in the front pew of St. Michael's Episcopal Church 4 days later, watching mourners approach Tyler's casket, she observed a master class in emotional performance from her daughter-in-law. Jade had dressed impeccably in a designer black dress that managed to be both appropriate and flattering. Her hair fell in subdued waves. Her makeup was subtle, yet flawless, tear-proof mascara evident as she dabbed occasionally at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. She leaned against Melissa at calculated intervals, murmuring things like, "He would have appreciated such a turnout," and "Tyler always spoke so highly of everyone here." To observers, they appeared as a united front of grief, the devastated widow and the heartbroken mother supporting each other through unimaginable loss. Only Melissa could feel how lightly Jade rested against her shoulder, ready to straighten the moment someone important approached. Only Melissa noticed how Jade's eyes constantly scanned the room, assessing each mourner's social and financial status with the precision of an accountant. Only Melissa caught the subtle changes in Jade's voice when speaking to Tyler's wealthier clients versus his childhood friends. But Melissa's attention was primarily focused on Ryan, seated on her other side. His small body shook with silent sobs, his face blotchy from genuine tears as he stared at the casket containing his father. Unlike his mother, Ryan's grief was raw and real. Is Daddy really in there? He whispered during a lull in the service. His body is, Melissa explained gently, pulling him closer. But the special part that made him Daddy, his love, his thoughts, his spirit, that's still with you. Always. Ryan nodded, seeming to understand this distinction better than many adults. I can still feel him sometimes, like he's watching. I believe he is, Melissa said, fighting back fresh tears. Jade leaned across. Ryan, sit up straight. People are watching. Melissa felt Ryan's small shoulders stiffen under her arm. This concern with appearances rather than her son's emotional state was precisely why Tyler had increasingly left Ryan in Melissa's care over the past year, something Melissa hadn't fully understood until now. After the service, the procession of mourners seemed endless. Tyler had been well loved by colleagues at his law firm, by clients he'd helped, by neighbors and friends. Each person had a story. Your son helped me keep my house during my divorce, one woman said, clasping Melissa's hands. He reduced his fees when he learned I was struggling, then connected me with financial advisors who helped me get back on my feet. Tyler was the only attorney who took my discrimination case when no one else would, an elderly man told her. He cared about justice, not just billable hours. These testimonials were bittersweet balm to Melissa's aching heart. Her son had lived his values, had made a difference. She stored each story carefully, knowing Ryan would treasure them someday. Throughout the reception, Melissa noticed Jade having intense whispered conversations with several people, including a tall, expensively dressed man she didn't recognize. When Melissa approached, they separated smoothly, Jade introducing him as Richard Martinez, one of Tyler's real estate investment partners. My condolences, Mrs. Allen, Richard said, his handshake brief and impersonal. Tyler was a remarkable man. Something in his tone rang false, and the way Jade's hand briefly touched his arm suggested a familiarity that went beyond business acquaintance. Melissa filed this observation away, her professor's brain automatically cataloging behavioral details even through her grief. By evening's end, Marcus Webb, Tyler's closest friend since law school and his personal attorney, approached quietly as Ryan dozed on a couch in the funeral home's private room. Melissa, could we speak privately for a moment? She followed him to a secluded corner, away from lingering mourners. Tyler left explicit instructions about certain matters, Marcus said, keeping his voice low. I can't go into details yet, but he asked me to tell you one thing immediately. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Trust your instincts about Ryan. Melissa glanced toward her sleeping grandson, then at Jade, who was checking her makeup in a compact mirror while nodding absently at condolences. Yes, she said slowly. I believe I understand. Good. Marcus's expression softened slightly. We'll need to meet officially tomorrow about the will. But Melissa? Tyler wanted you to know. He hesitated. Arrangements have been made. For both of you. Before she could ask what he meant, Jade approached, her social smile firmly in place. Marcus, I hope we can resolve everything quickly, she said. I'm thinking of taking Ryan away for a while after this, a healing trip. Probably best to handle the estate matters promptly. Of course, Marcus replied neutrally. My office. Tomorrow at 2. As they prepared to leave, Melissa gathered Ryan into her arms, his slight weight a precious burden. Jade made no move to help, instead scrolling through her phone. 17 missed calls, Jade sighed. So many arrangements to make. Melissa studied her daughter-in-law's composed face, noting the absence of grief's telltale signs. No swollen eyes, no exhaustion of spirit, none of the physical manifestations of heartbreak currently crushing Melissa from within. What arrangements? She asked carefully. Life goes on, Melissa, Jade said, not looking up from her screen. Bills, accounts, notifications. Tyler handled everything. Now it's all on me. Not us. Not we'll figure it out together. The solitary me spoke volumes. As Melissa settled Ryan into her car, Jade had asked if she would keep him overnight, claiming she needed space to process, a strange sense of foreboding mixed with something else. Something that felt almost like Tyler's presence, urging her to stay vigilant, to watch carefully. to protect what he could no longer protect himself. "We're going to be okay, Ryan," she whispered to her sleeping grandson. "Somehow we're going to be okay." She didn't yet know how prophetic or how challenging that promise would prove to be. Scene 3. The will reading. Twist number 1. Jade's perfect composure slipped for the first time as she sat in Marcus Webb's office the day after the funeral. Melissa watched her daughter-in-law's face cycle through emotions, first smug satisfaction, then confusion, and finally thinly veiled outrage, as Marcus continued reading the will's provisions in his measured professional tone. "Not exactly," Marcus corrected when Jade interrupted with a confident, "So Tyler left everything to me." He adjusted his reading glasses. "Mr. Allen left you the lake house property valued at approximately $400,000, his investment portfolio with Meridian Partners worth $450,000, and a life insurance policy of $500,000. He paused. "That's approximately $1.3 million in total assets." Melissa sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, as Marcus outlined the inheritance that had left Jade increasingly agitated. While substantial by most standards, it clearly fell short of her expectations. "The family home at 1742 Oakwood Drive," Marcus continued, not meeting either woman's eyes as he read directly from the document. "Both vehicles, a 2023 Mercedes E-Class and a 2022 Range Rover Sport, and his personal bank accounts at First National Bank, are bequeathed to his mother, Melissa Allen." "That's impossible," Jade interrupted, her carefully manicured nails digging into the leather armrests. "We purchased that house together. It's marital property." Marcus slid a document across the polished desk. "The house was purchased solely in Tyler's name before your marriage. It was never converted to joint property. The deed and mortgage documents confirm this." Melissa kept her expression neutral, despite her own shock. Tyler had never mentioned these arrangements. The family home, a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial where Ryan had his treehouse in the backyard, was apparently hers, not Jade's. So were Tyler's vehicles and a bank account she hadn't known existed. "What about Ryan's college fund?" Jade demanded, her voice rising slightly. "Tyler always said he was setting aside money for Ryan's education." Marcus nodded. "Mr. Allen established a comprehensive trust for Ryan's educational expenses, including undergraduate, graduate school, and related costs. The trust is currently valued at $380,000. "And I'm the trustee of this account," Jade stated, reaching for the document. "You are not the trustee," Marcus replied evenly. The room fell silent except for the antique clock ticking on the bookshelf. "Then who is?" The question came out as nearly a hiss. Marcus glanced at Melissa briefly. "Melissa Allen has been named sole trustee of all funds related to Ryan's care and education." Melissa watched her daughter-in-law process this information, could almost see the calculations happening behind those carefully made-up eyes, totaling assets, weighing options, formulating responses. "This makes no sense," Jade finally said, her voice deliberately modulated to convey wounded confusion rather than the anger Melissa could see simmering beneath. "Tyler and I discussed our estate plans. This is nothing like what we agreed upon." Marcus cleared his throat. "The will was updated 3 months ago. Tyler came to me specifically to make these changes. Everything is legally executed and properly witnessed." 3 months ago? Jade's eyes narrowed. "He never mentioned any changes to me." "That was his prerogative," Marcus replied simply. Melissa remained silent, absorbing the implications. 3 months ago, Tyler had secretly revised his will to ensure she would have the family home and financial resources, while limiting Jade's access to certain assets and, most tellingly, Ryan's education fund. The timing corresponded with a period when Tyler had seemed particularly troubled, often bringing Ryan to stay with Melissa for father-son weekends that she'd suspected were actually meant to give Tyler space to deal with marital issues. "There must be some mistake," Jade said, turning to Melissa with a practiced look of appeal. "Melissa, you know Tyler would have wanted his family to remain in their home. You have your own house. Surely you don't intend to take ours away from Ryan." The subtle manipulation was impressive. framing any enforcement of Tyler's wishes as Melissa taking something from her grandson rather than from Jade. Melissa recognized the tactic from years of teaching persuasion techniques to psychology students. "I'm as surprised as you are, Jade," Melissa said truthfully. "I need time to process all of this." Marcus continued with additional details, items about personal effects, specific bequests to charities, funeral expenses that had been prearranged. Throughout it all, Melissa noticed Jade texting under the table, her face a mask of appropriate grief, occasionally disrupted by flashes of calculation. When the meeting concluded, Marcus asked Melissa to stay behind for a moment. Once Jade had left, with a tight-lipped promise to talk soon directed at Melissa, he closed his office door and sat across from her. "There's more," he said quietly, retrieving a sealed envelope from his desk drawer. Her name was written on it in Tyler's familiar handwriting. Her hands trembled as she took it. "Should I read it now?" she asked. "Take it home," Marcus advised. "Read it when you're alone and ready. And Melissa—" He paused, his professional demeanor softening. Tyler knew exactly what he was doing. "Trust that." She nodded, slipping the envelope into her purse. As she rose to leave, Marcus added one more thing. "He protected you both the only way he could. Now it's your turn to protect Ryan." Scene 4. Tyler's letter. The mission. Melissa waited until that evening, after settling Ryan at his friend's house for a sleepover, something she'd arranged to give herself time to process everything. Alone in her modest home with only the ticking of her kitchen clock for company, she finally opened Tyler's letter with shaking hands. The single page of stationery from his law office felt heavy with importance. "Mom, if you're reading this, the unthinkable has happened. I'm so sorry to leave you with this burden, but there's no one I trust more. My marriage has been failing for 2 years. What began as growing apart has evolved into something far more concerning. 6 months ago, I hired a private investigator. What Detective Sarah Walsh uncovered— Mom, I need you to understand the situation clearly. Jade has been having an affair with David Martinez, that real estate partner you'll probably meet at my funeral. But it's more than an affair. They've been planning to leave, planning to liquidate assets, planning a future that doesn't include me, except as a source of funding. I've documented everything. Marcus has the full file, text messages, financial transfers to offshore accounts, hotel receipts, all of it. But here's what keeps me awake at night. Ryan. They talk about him like he's a complication, an obstacle, a situation to manage. I can't divorce her without risking my access to Ryan in the short term. Family court doesn't always favor fathers, and Jade's already prepared to paint me as an absent workaholic. So I'm taking a different approach, ensuring that if something happens to me, you have the legal standing and resources to protect him. The house, cars, and bank accounts aren't really for you, Mom. They're tools. Legal leverage to ensure Ryan has one stable, loving parent figure if I'm not here. Jade will fight this. She'll try to manipulate you. That's her particular skill. Don't let her know what you suspect. Watch and wait. Document everything regarding Ryan's care. I've left additional instructions with Marcus. Follow his guidance. And Mom, trust your instincts. You taught me to see people clearly, to plan ahead. I'm counting on those same qualities now to protect my son. I love you both more than words can express." Tyler Melissa pressed the letter to her chest as tears flowed freely. Even facing whatever fears had driven him to write this, Tyler had been thinking of protecting his son, of protecting her. The weight of that trust settled on her shoulders like a physical thing. She read the letter again, this time with her professor's analytical mind engaged. The phrases, "if something happens to me," appeared twice. Tyler hadn't known about the aneurysm, couldn't have, but he'd been worried enough about something to prepare for his death. Had Jade done something? Could she have somehow caused— No, the doctors had been clear. Massive cerebral aneurysm, no warning signs, nothing suspicious. Sometimes death was just random cruelty, not conspiracy. But the affair was real, the planning was real, the financial deception was real, and most damning of all, Viewing Ryan as a complication was real. Melissa stood, wiping her eyes, and walked to her desk. She pulled out a new leather journal she'd received as a retirement gift and never used. On the first page, she wrote, "Ryan's Chronicle, for his protection." Then, systematically, she began documenting everything she'd observed since Tyler's death. Jade's late arrival at the hospital, her dry eyes at the funeral, her immediate focus on settling things quickly, the mysterious Richard Martinez, the text messages during the will reading. Her training was kicking in now. Years of research methodology, of documenting behavioral patterns, of seeing what others missed. Tyler had given her a mission, and she would not fail him. For Ryan, for Tyler, for justice. The game, though she didn't fully realize it yet, had begun. Scene 5. The First Move. 2 days later, Jade called with a request that Melissa had been expecting. "Melissa, I hate to impose, but I'm drowning in estate paperwork and insurance claims. Would you mind keeping Ryan for a few days, just until I can get organized?" "Of course," Melissa replied, keeping her tone warm and accommodating. "Bring him whenever you're ready." Jade dropped Ryan off within the hour, her designer SUV pulling into Melissa's driveway with barely enough time for Ryan to grab his backpack before Jade was checking her phone, one foot already back toward the car. "I packed some clothes and his tablet," Jade said, not looking at either of them. "I'll call him tonight." "What about his inhaler?" Melissa asked, noting its absence from Ryan's bag. "Dr. Morrison said he needs it daily during winter." Jade's expression flickered, annoyance, then dismissal. "Oh, I'll drop that by tomorrow. He'll be fine for one night." "Mom, I need it," Ryan said quietly. "Ryan, don't be dramatic. Your grandmother can handle one night." Jade kissed his forehead with performative affection, then turned to Melissa. "Thank you for this. I don't know what I'd do without you." As Jade's SUV disappeared down the street, Melissa knelt to Ryan's level. "Let's call your doctor and get that prescription refilled, okay? Just to be safe." Ryan nodded, looking relieved. "She forgets a lot now," he said softly. "Dad used to remember everything for us." First entry, Melissa thought, already composing the journal notation in her mind. That afternoon, following Marcus's advice from their post-will reading conversation, she contacted a home security company. By evening, discrete cameras had been installed in the common areas, living room, kitchen, entryway. Not the bedrooms or bathrooms, nothing invasive, just enough to document comings and goings, to have proof of who said what and when. "What are those for, Grandma?" Ryan asked, pointing at a small camera mounted near the ceiling. "Safety," Melissa replied honestly. "Lots of people have them now. It helps us feel secure." That night, as they made spaghetti together, Ryan's favorite, Melissa observed her grandson with new eyes, the way he automatically set the table without being asked. How he knew where everything was in her kitchen, the comfortable ease of their routine together. "Do you stay at Grandma's house a lot?" she asked casually. "Pretty much every weekend for like forever," Ryan replied, carefully grating cheese. "Dad used to bring me on Friday nights. He said it was our special tradition, but I heard him tell Mom once that she needed space to do her own thing." He paused. What thing was Mom doing? Melissa's heart ached. "Grown-up things, sweetheart. Sometimes adults need time to themselves." She made a mental note. Tyler had been leaving Ryan with her regularly, creating a documented pattern of Ryan's comfort in her home, his integration into her care routine. Had Tyler been building a case even then? Creating evidence of Ryan's primary attachment to his grandmother? After dinner, as Ryan settled into the guest room that had gradually become his room over the past year, complete with his art projects and favorite books, Melissa's phone rang. Jade. "Hi, Melissa. Just checking on Ryan." "He's doing well. We made spaghetti and he's settling in for the night." "Oh, good." A pause. "Listen, I've been thinking about the will situation. It's so complicated, isn't it? The house, the cars, the trust fund arrangements." "Here it comes," Melissa thought. "Maybe we could simplify things," Jade continued, her voice carefully casual. "For Ryan's sake, why don't we meet for coffee tomorrow? Just you and me. I think I found a solution that works for everyone. Melissa kept her tone curious rather than suspicious. What kind of solution? Better to discuss in person. Tomorrow at 2? That cafe on Maple Street you like? After agreeing and hanging up, Melissa immediately called Marcus. She's making her move, Melissa told him. Meeting tomorrow at 2. Don't go alone, Marcus replied. And Melissa? Whatever she proposes, don't agree to anything without having me review it first. Record the conversation if you can. Virginia is a one-party consent state. I will. One more thing. Detective Walsh has finished compiling Tyler's investigation file. You need to see it before that meeting. Can you come by my office in the morning? I'll be there. After hanging up, Melissa sat in the quiet of her living room, Tyler's letter still in her purse, Ryan sleeping peacefully upstairs in a room that had become his sanctuary. Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing the street in white. The first move had been made. The pieces were being positioned, and Melissa Allen, retired psychology professor, devoted grandmother, and now guardian of her son's final wishes, was ready to play the long game, for Ryan, for Tyler, for truth. Tomorrow she would see exactly what evidence Tyler had gathered. Tomorrow she would face Jade's solution. Tomorrow the real battle would begin. But tonight she simply sat in the peaceful silence, gathering her strength for what lay ahead. Scene 6, the evidence vault, twist number 2. Marcus's office felt different in morning light, less formal, more conspiratorial. He locked the door behind Melissa and spread documents across his conference table like a detective laying out evidence at a crime scene. Tyler started investigating 6 months before he died, Marcus began, handing her a thick folder. What he found. Melissa, you need to prepare yourself. She opened the file. The first page was a timeline in Tyler's meticulous handwriting. October 15th, first suspicious text exchange noticed November 2nd. Hired Detective Walsh. November 18th. Affair confirmed. David Martinez. December 1st. Financial irregularities discovered. January 10th. Offshore accounts identified February 3rd. Changed will photographs spilled out. Jade and David entering hotels. Time-stamped. Dated. Undeniable. The affair started about 18 months ago, Marcus explained. But look at the text messages. Melissa's hands trembled as she read the printed exchanges. David, how much longer are we doing this? The Cayman property won't wait forever. Jade, Tyler's life insurance is $2 million. Need to maximize before we go. David, that's only if something happens to him. Jade, people have accidents. Heart conditions run in his family. Just needs encouragement. David, Jesus, Jade, be careful what you say. Jade, I'm always careful. That's why this will work. The room spun. Melissa gripped the table's edge. Did she couldn't finish the question. Tyler died of natural causes, Marcus said firmly. The autopsy was thorough. Massive cerebral aneurysm, completely random. But these texts show intent, Melissa. Conspiracy to commit insurance fraud at minimum. And they reveal her mindset. Ryan is a paycheck, not a son. More documents showed systematic financial deception. Jade had transferred $75,000 to offshore accounts in increments just below reporting thresholds. Joint accounts drained. Credit cards maxed out on purchases Tyler never saw. She's been planning this for over a year, Melissa whispered, which is why Tyler changed his will. Why he gave you the house and control of Ryan's trust. He was building a legal firewall. Marcus pulled out one final document. Tyler's handwritten note dated 2 weeks before his death. Mom, if something happens, show Marcus everything. Get Ryan to safety. She sees him as money, not a child. The texts prove intent. Use them for custody if needed. Don't let her take him to the Caymans. Protect him. T. He knew, Melissa said, tears streaming. He knew she was dangerous. He knew she was calculating, Marcus corrected gently. And he trusted you to outsmart her. Scene 7. Coffee shop manipulation. The cafe on Maple Street was Jade's choice. Upscale, quiet. The kind of place where conversations felt private, but were actually public enough to discourage scenes. Melissa arrived with her phone recording in her purse, Marcus's warnings fresh in her mind. Jade was already seated, immaculate in black cashmere, playing the role of elegant grieving widow. "Melissa, thank you for coming." Air kisses, practiced warmth. "I ordered your favorite, hazelnut latte." They sat. Jade wasted no time. "I've been thinking about what's best for Ryan, for all of us." She stirred her coffee with deliberate grace. "The will creates such complications. You and I both know Tyler wasn't thinking clearly those last months. The stress, working late." "He seemed very clear to me," Melissa said mildly. Jade's smile tightened fractionally. "Melissa, let's be honest. You're 65. That house is far too large for you to manage. The maintenance, taxes, upkeep. I'm quite capable." "Of course you are." Jade leaned forward, voice dropping to intimate concern. "But I'm thinking of Ryan, his home, his school, his stability. If you transferred the house back to me, as Tyler would have wanted if he'd been himself, I could ensure Ryan stays in his familiar environment. And what would I receive from this arrangement? Generous visitation." Jade slid a document across the table. "Every other weekend, major holidays. I put it in writing, legal and binding." Melissa scanned the pre-drafted agreement. Transfer of house, vehicles, and all assets in exchange for guaranteed grandparent visitation rights. "You've clearly thought this through," Melissa observed. "I have, for Ryan's sake." Jade's expression radiated maternal concern. "We both want what's best for him, don't we?" "Of course." Melissa folded the document slowly. "Though I'll need a few days to review this properly." Jade's mask slipped, just a flash of irritation. "Don't involve Marcus. He's old-fashioned, doesn't understand modern families. My attorney assures me this is completely standard." "I see." Melissa tucked the document into her purse. "Is there anything else I should know?" "Actually, yes." Jade brightened, sensing victory. "David and I are looking at properties in Scottsdale. Wonderful schools, year-round sunshine. Fresh start for Ryan, away from all this sadness. The sooner we settle estate matters, the sooner we can all move forward." There it was, buried under concern and logistics, the real plan. Take Ryan out of state, out of Melissa's reach, out of legal jurisdiction. "Arizona sounds lovely," Melissa said neutrally. "When are you thinking of moving?" "Within the month, ideally, which is why it's so important we resolve this quickly." After more pleasantries, they parted. Melissa waited until Jade's car disappeared before calling Marcus. "She wants me to sign over everything in exchange for visitation rights," Melissa reported. "And she's planning to take Ryan to Arizona within a month." "Perfect," Marcus said grimly. "She just gave us urgency for emergency custody. Flight risk makes judges very cooperative. How soon can you get to my office?" 20 minutes. Scene 8, Ryan's confession. That night, as Melissa helped Ryan with homework at her kitchen table, he suddenly looked up from his math worksheet. "Grandma, am I going to have to move to Arizona?" Melissa's heart clenched. "What makes you ask that, sweetheart?" "I heard Mom on the phone yesterday. She told someone we'd be gone by next month. She said the schools there don't have snow days." His voice wavered. "But I don't want to leave. My friends are here. And Dad—" "Your dad what, honey?" "Dad's grave is here. Who will visit him if we leave?" Tears spilled down his cheeks. "And you're here. I don't want to lose you too." Melissa pulled him close. "Tell me something. Has Mom talked to you about this move?" Ryan shook his head against her shoulder. "She doesn't talk to me much anymore. She's always on the phone with David. He doesn't like kids. He told Mom I'm expensive." "When did you hear that?" "In Miami. They thought I was watching TV, but I heard them. David said kids are expensive and complicated, and Mom laughed. She said just temporary complications." Each word was a nail in Jade's coffin. Melissa kept her voice gentle. "Ryan, did Dad ever talk to you about staying with Grandma?" The boy nodded. "Before he died, like maybe a week before, he came to my room late at night. He seemed sad. He said if anything ever happened to him, I should stay with you. that you'd keep me safe. Ryan looked up. He made me promise not to tell Mom. Why would he say that? Because your dad loved you very much, Melissa whispered. And he wanted to make sure you were always protected. I miss him so much it hurts. I know, baby. I know. After Ryan went to bed, Melissa added everything to her journal with shaking hands. Tyler's deathbed instruction to his son, David's cruel comment, Jade's temporary complications remark. All of it documented, time-stamped, preserved. Scene 9. The Custody Petition. Marcus's conference room felt like a war room. Documents covered every surface. Medical records, school reports, financial statements, photographs, Detective Walsh's investigation file. We file for emergency temporary custody, Marcus explained, organizing papers into evidence folders. The legal argument is three-pronged. Tyler's clear intent through the will and his instructions to Ryan, Jade's demonstrated pattern of neglect, and imminent flight risk. Will a judge actually grant this? Melissa asked. Judge Catherine Carlton handles emergency family cases. She's tough but fair. With this evidence, Marcus gestured at the mountain of documentation. She'll grant a hearing at minimum. The texts about encouraging Tyler's death will get her attention. The offshore accounts show financial deception. The Arizona move shows flight risk. And Ryan's own statements about fear and neglect. He's 8 years old, Melissa interrupted. Does he have to testify? Not initially. Dr. Patricia Foster, court-appointed child psychologist, will interview him at school next week. Neutral setting, age-appropriate conversation. Her evaluation will carry significant weight. Melissa studied the petition Marcus had drafted. It was clear, factual, devastating. Every claim backed by evidence. Every assertion documented. When do we file? She asked. Tomorrow morning. Jade will be served by end of day. Emergency hearing is set for Monday, 3 days from now. She's going to be furious. She's going to be dangerous, Marcus corrected. Melissa, when she's served, you need to be somewhere safe. Karen Morrison's house, maybe. Don't be alone. What about Ryan? The petition includes a provision for Ryan to remain with you pending the hearing. The server will explain that to Jade. Legally, she can't remove him from your care until the judge rules. Melissa nodded, overwhelmed but resolute. Let's do it. File tomorrow. Scene 10. The storm breaks. The phone call came at 2:47 p.m. Friday. Jade had been served. You bitch! The scream was so loud Melissa held the phone away from her ear. How dare you try to steal my son? Jade, I can't discuss. I'll destroy you. You'll never see Ryan again. I'll take him so far away you won't even... This conversation is being recorded, Jade. Melissa kept her voice steady. You need to speak with your attorney. A dangerous pause, then quieter, more chilling. You have no idea what I'm capable of. The line went dead. Within an hour, Marcus called with updates. Jade had withdrawn $50,000 cash from Tyler's remaining accounts. Booked flights to Grand Cayman departing Monday morning, the day of their hearing. Attempted to pick up Ryan from school but was blocked by office staff following the court's interim order. She's panicking, Marcus said, making mistakes. I filed for an immediate restraining order and passport hold. Judge Carlton moved the hearing to tomorrow, Saturday, due to flight risk. Tomorrow? Melissa's stomach dropped. 9 a.m. Bring Ryan's overnight bag. If she rules in our favor, he'll need his things. That evening, Jade showed up at Melissa's door, unannounced, fury radiating from every pore. This is my house, she spat, pushing past Melissa into the foyer. Actually, the deed says... I don't give a damn what the deed says. Tyler was my husband. Ryan is my son. Then act like his mother, Melissa said quietly. Jade stepped closer, dangerous. What did you just say? You heard me. Mothers don't use their children as leverage. Mothers don't plan to flee the country. Mothers don't forget inhaler prescriptions. You've been spying on me. Tyler was, Melissa corrected. For months, before he died. Jade's face went pale. He knew? About David? About the offshore accounts? About your plans to leave? Melissa held her ground. Yes, he knew everything. That's why he changed his will. Why he gave me the house. He was protecting Ryan from you. For a moment, Jade's mask shattered completely. No performance, no calculation, just raw fury and something like fear. Fine? You want the truth? Her laugh was bitter. I never loved Tyler. I married him because he was successful, stable, boring. The perfect cover. And Ryan? Ryan was insurance, literally. Child support, life insurance, the whole package. Melissa's phone recorded every word from her pocket. But you've made a mistake, Melissa. Jade's smile turned cruel. I have the best attorney money, David's money, can buy. And we play dirty. You might win tomorrow, but I'll get him back eventually. And when I do, you'll never see Ryan again. She left in a storm of expensive perfume and cold rage. Melissa stood in the quiet house, trembling. Then she sent the recording to Marcus. His reply came immediately. Perfect. This seals it. See you at 9 a.m. 10. Scene 11. Emergency custody. Hearing climax number 1. Judge Catherine Carlton's courtroom was smaller than Melissa had imagined, but the woman behind the bench radiated authority. Stern-faced, 60-something, with steel-gray hair and reading glasses that she peered over with devastating effect. This is an emergency hearing regarding temporary custody of minor child Ryan Allen, Judge Carlton stated. Let's proceed efficiently. I've reviewed the preliminary filings. Mr. Webb, present your case. Marcus stood. Your Honor, Tyler Allen was a meticulous attorney who knew exactly what he was doing when he revised his will 3 months before his untimely death. He was protecting his son from a mother who views him as a financial asset rather than a child. We have documented evidence of neglect, financial deception, and plans to flee jurisdiction to a non-extradition country. Jade's attorney, Gerald Winter's expensive suit, sharper features, countered smoothly. Your Honor, my client is a grieving widow being targeted by an interfering mother-in-law exploiting temporary chaos. Mrs. Allen is 65 years old. Surely the court won't remove a child from his biological mother and place him with an elderly relative based on hearsay and— The evidence isn't hearsay, Mr. Winters, Judge Carlton interrupted. I've reviewed it. Proceed, Mr. Webb. Marcus presented methodically. Medical records showing missed prescriptions. School counselor reports documenting Ryan's anxiety. Financial records proving offshore transfers. Flight bookings to the Caymans. Then came Dr. Foster's evaluation, delivered via written report. Ryan exhibits elevated anxiety when discussing his mother. He expressed fear of being sent away and demonstrated clear attachment to his grandmother as primary source of emotional support. Gerald Winters objected, deflected, reframed. But when Marcus played the recording from the house confrontation, Jade's voice cold and clear admitting, I never loved Tyler, and Ryan was insurance. The courtroom fell silent. Even Winters had no rebuttal. Your Honor, Marcus said quietly, may I present one final piece of evidence? He loaded a USB drive. Tyler appeared on screen, recorded 3 weeks before his death. This is Tyler Allen of sound mind. I'm recording this as supplementary instruction to my will. If you're watching this, I'm gone. And my son Ryan needs protection. I've documented my wife's affair, her financial deception, and most importantly, her lack of parental engagement. Ryan deserves better. My mother, Melissa Allen, has been his primary emotional support. I formally request that custody be granted to her should circumstances require it. This isn't revenge. It's a father's final act of protection. Ryan is my son, and I trust my mother to raise him with the love Jade cannot provide. Judge Carlton was silent for a long moment after the video ended. Mrs. Allen, Jade, do you wish to address the court? Jade stood, shaking. Your Honor, This is all being taken out of context. I love my son. I'm just overwhelmed. I made mistakes, said things in anger, but Mrs. Allen, I've been on this bench for 23 years. Judge Carlton's voice cut like ice. I've reviewed all evidence. I've heard a father testify from beyond the grave. I've seen financial records that suggest criminal fraud. and I've read text messages discussing encouraging your husband's death that concern me deeply. Emergency temporary custody is hereby granted to Melissa Allen for 90 days, pending comprehensive evaluation. You'll have supervised visitation twice weekly. Neither party may remove the child from jurisdiction. Your passport and Ryan's passport are surrendered to the court immediately. Use these 90 days to demonstrate you can put your child first, Mrs. Allen, because if you cannot, I will not hesitate to make this permanent. The gavel fell. Jade's composure shattered. Gerald Winters grabbed her arm as she started toward Melissa, face contorted with rage. In the hallway, Karen Morrison hugged Melissa tight. You did it. Ryan's safe. Melissa nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. For now, Ryan was protected, but 90 days wasn't forever. The battle had just begun. Scene 13, the proposal, twist number 5. 2 weeks after the emergency hearing, during supervised visitation number 3, Jade was different. The performance had stopped. No perfect makeup, no designer clothes, just jeans and a simple sweater, hair pulled back, face bare of artifice. Ryan, I need to talk to you, she said as the social worker observed from the corner. Ryan looked guarded, his small body tense. Okay. I know things have been hard, confusing, scary, maybe. Yeah. His voice was barely audible. I want you to know that I love you, even if I haven't always shown it the right way. Jade's voice cracked. Not performed emotion, but something genuine. Your dad was a good man, better than I deserved, and he loved you more than anything in this world. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. I miss him. I know, and I think... Jade took a shaky breath. I think he knew something I didn't understand. That you need Grandma right now. Maybe more than you need me. It was the first honest thing Melissa had heard Jade say about Ryan in 10 years. Now, that evening Jade called Melissa directly. Can we meet? Just us. No lawyers. Her voice was subdued, exhausted. Please, I'm not trying to fight anymore. Against Marcus's advice, Melissa agreed. They met at Riverside Park the next afternoon, the same bench where Tyler used to bring Ryan to feed ducks. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Jade spoke first, staring at the water. I'm signing over custody. Full, permanent. No more hearings, no more battles. Melissa's breath caught. What? David and I are moving to Grand Cayman next month. The resort development is real, it's massive, and it's going to take at least 3 years. Jade turned to face her. And Ryan deserves better than I can give him. Why this sudden change? Jade laughed bitterly. It's not sudden, Melissa. I've known for a long time I'm not cut out for motherhood. I just refuse to admit it. She picked at her nail polish. Tyler used to say I had a deficit of maternal instinct. He was right. You could try. I did try. Jade's voice rose, then fell. I got pregnant to keep Tyler from leaving. That's the ugly truth. And when Ryan was born, I felt nothing, just obligation, just burden. I kept thinking it would click, that magical mother-child bond everyone talks about. But it never did. Melissa absorbed this, recognizing the painful honesty, not redemption, but self-awareness. I watched him in that visitation room, Jade continued quietly. Saw how scared he is of me. That's not because of you poisoning him against me. That's because of who I've been, what I've done. And honestly, David doesn't want kids around. He's made that clear. So you're choosing David over Ryan. I'm choosing to release Ryan to someone who actually wants to be his parent. That's you. It's always been you, even before Tyler died. Jade met Melissa's eyes. I'll sign whatever Marcus drafts. I'll pay child support from the insurance money. I just want a clean break. No criminal investigations, no forensic audits. Everyone walks away. You want immunity, Melissa said flatly. I want to start over. And Ryan gets stability with someone who loves him unconditionally. Everyone wins. Melissa studied the woman her son had married. Selfish? Yes. Calculating? Absolutely. But also trapped in her own limitations, finally honest enough to admit it. I need to think about this, Melissa said, and consult with Marcus. Take your time. But Melissa? Jade stood to leave. Tyler was right to trust you. I hope someday Ryan understands I'm doing this for him, not to him. Scene 14. The Exchange. 1 week later, Marcus's office felt less like a battlefield and more like a treaty signing. Jade voluntarily terminated her parental rights, her signature steady on the documents that would change 3 lives forever. The agreement was comprehensive. Full legal custody to Melissa Allen. Child support payments. $2,000 monthly for 10 years. Jade may send cards, letters, Ryan's choice to read. No unannounced contact. No interference in Ryan's upbringing. This is legally binding, Marcus said, his tone neutral, but his eyes watchful. You understand once you sign there's no reversing this decision? I understand. Jade signed without hesitation. The final requirement was one supervised goodbye visit. Jade requested it herself. At the family center, Ryan sat across from his mother while the social worker pretended to do paperwork in the corner. Melissa waited in the hallway, close enough if Ryan needed her. Ryan, I'm going away, Jade said softly. For a long time. Maybe forever. Are you coming back? His voice was small. No, I don't think so. Because of me? No, baby. Never because of you. Tears, real tears, slid down Jade's face. You're wonderful. Your dad made sure of that. But I'm not the mom you need. Grandma is. Ryan was quiet for a moment, processing. Okay. I'm sorry. For all of it. For not being better. For not... Jade's voice broke. I hope someday you'll understand that leaving is the best thing I can do for you. Ryan looked at her with Tyler's steady gaze. Dad said something once. He said sometimes the bravest thing is knowing when you can't do something. Jade inhaled sharply. When did he say that? When he stopped trying to fix your marriage. He told me he couldn't make you love us, so he had to protect me instead. He was right. Jade wiped her eyes. He was always right. Take care of Grandma, okay? She loves you more than I ever could. She hugged him once. Brief. Final. Then she walked out of the family center, got into David Martinez's waiting car, and drove out of Ryan's life. Ryan didn't cry. He just watched her go through the window, his small hand finding Melissa's. Can we go home now, Grandma? Yes, sweetheart. We can go home. Scene 15. 6 months later, spring came to Virginia with cherry blossoms and renewed life. Ryan's 9th birthday party filled Melissa's backyard with laughter, school friends playing, neighbors helping with food, Marcus teaching kids to play cornhole. The small memorial garden Melissa and Ryan had planted for Tyler bloomed with his favorite flowers. Ryan had chosen a stone bench with an inscription, Dad's thinking spot, where love never leaves. As Melissa brought out the birthday cake, Ryan suddenly stood on a chair. Everyone, I want to say something. The yard quieted. Ryan's confidence was remarkable compared to the anxious child of 6 months ago. This year has been really hard. I lost my dad, and my mom went away. But I learned something important. He looked directly at Melissa. Family isn't just who you're born to, it's who shows up. Grandma shows up, every day. For homework, for soccer, for nightmares, for everything. So today, on my birthday, I want to say thank you for choosing me. Melissa's tears came unbidden as the backyard erupted in applause. Karen Morrison squeezed her hand. Marcus raised his glass in a silent toast. Later, after the party ended and Ryan was upstairs showering, Melissa found a card in the mail, postmarked from the Cayman Islands. Inside, Jade's handwriting. Ryan, happy 9th birthday. I hope you're happy. I hope you understand someday that leaving was my way of loving you, giving you to someone who could love you better. Your dad was the best man I ever knew, and you're so much like him. Take care of Grandma. J. Melissa tucked it into a memory box. Ryan could read it when he was older, when he could understand that people were complicated, that love wasn't always straightforward. For now, he just needed to be a kid. Happy, safe, loved. 1 year after Tyler's death, Melissa visited his grave alone for the first time. Usually Ryan came with her, but today she needed to talk to her son privately. She sat on the bench Marcus had installed near the headstone and spoke aloud, not caring if anyone heard. "I did it. He's safe. He's happy. He's going to be okay. You couldn't have predicted all of this. The custody battle, Jade's surrender, me raising Ryan at 66. But somehow you prepared me for it anyway, teaching me to see people clearly, to document, to plan. You knew I'd need those skills. Some days I feel 86 chasing a 9-year-old around, but most days I feel younger than I have in years. Purpose will do that." Ryan asked me yesterday if I wished things were different, if I wished you were here raising him instead of me. I told him the truth. Every single day I wish you were here, but I'm so grateful I get to do this. To know him the way you wanted me to give him the childhood you planned for him. Melissa's voice caught. "He has your smile. Did I ever tell you that? And your stubborn sense of justice. Last week he stood up to a bully at school, not with fists, but with words. He said, 'My dad was a lawyer, and he taught me that standing up for what's right is more important than being popular.' I asked when you taught him that. He said you didn't, not directly. But he overheard you saying it to me once on the phone working on a pro bono case. That's your legacy, Tyler. Not the house, not the money. It's Ryan. Every kind word he speaks, every brave choice he makes, that's you, living on through him. And I promise, I'll protect that legacy with everything I have." She remembered the last paragraph of Tyler's letter, which she'd read so many times she'd memorized it. "Mom, I don't know if there's an afterlife, but if there is, and I can see you both, I'll be watching, proud, grateful, at peace knowing my son has the best guardian possible. Love isn't always biological. Sometimes it's chosen, and you chose Ryan before he was even in danger. That's why I trusted you with my everything." "I won't let you down," Melissa whispered, placing fresh flowers on the grave. "Grandma?" She turned. Ryan stood behind her, helmet under his arm. They'd biked to the cemetery together, though she'd sent him to explore the butterfly garden while she talked to Tyler. "Did you want to say hi to Dad?" she asked. "I already did. Told him about my A+ on the science project." Ryan grinned. "And about making the travel soccer team." "What did he say?" Ryan's smile widened. "You know what he said?" "That we're proud of you," Melissa replied, her heart full. "Exactly." They walked together through the cemetery gates into warm afternoon sunshine, grandmother and grandson, bikes in hand, heading home. That evening, Ryan did homework at the kitchen table while Melissa cooked dinner. The radio played softly. Through the window, the memorial garden glowed in golden hour light. "Grandma?" Ryan looked up from his math worksheet. "Yes, sweetheart?" "Do you think Dad knew this would happen? That you and me would be a team?" Melissa smiled, stirring pasta sauce. "I think your dad knew exactly what he was doing." "Good." Ryan returned to his homework. "Because I like our team." "Me too, Ryan. Me too." On the refrigerator, 2 photos hung side by side in magnetic frames. The first, Tyler, Melissa, and 5-year-old Ryan at the beach, all matching smiles. The second, Melissa and Ryan at his 9th birthday party, those same smiles reflected across generations. A legal document was pinned beside them, the finalized adoption papers Marcus had filed last month. Not just guardianship anymore, but official adoption. Ryan Allen was legally, permanently, irrevocably Melissa's son now. The phone rang. Karen Morrison, inviting them for Sunday brunch. Marcus texted about Ryan's soccer game schedule. Doctor. Foster sent her quarterly check-in, noting Ryan's remarkable progress. The community they'd built, not of blood but of choice, surrounded them with love. As Melissa tucked Ryan into bed that night, he looked up at her with Tyler's eyes. "I miss Dad," he said. "But I'm not sad anymore. Is that okay?" "That's more than okay, sweetheart. That's healing. Your dad would want you to be happy." "I am happy." Ryan yawned. "Are you happy, Grandma?" Melissa thought about the unexpected path that had brought them here. The midnight call that shattered her world. The battle that followed. The grandmother who became a mother again at 66. "Yes," she said truthfully. "I'm very happy." She kissed his forehead, turned off the light, and stood in the doorway watching him drift to sleep. Safe, loved, home. Tyler's final gift hadn't been the house or the money or even the legal protections. It had been trust. Trust that Melissa would fight for his son. Trust that love, real love, would prevail over manipulation and selfishness. Trust that families could be built from courage and choice, not just biology and obligation. And she had proven worthy of that trust. Downstairs, Melissa opened her journal one last time, turning to the final page. She wrote, 1 year later, Ryan is thriving. The nightmares have stopped. His grades are excellent. He laughs easily now. He talks about Tyler with joy, not just grief. We've built something beautiful from the ashes of tragedy. A family bound not by obligation, but by unwavering love. Tyler, wherever you are, rest easy. Your son is home. She closed the journal, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Outside, stars emerged in the clear night sky. Inside, a grandmother and grandson slept peacefully, protected by the foresight of a man who had loved them both enough to ensure their future even in his absence. The last will had been executed. The battle had been won. The family had been saved. And love, the kind that endures beyond death, beyond law, beyond blood, had triumphed.